Captain America Brave New World came out a couple weeks ago, and since some things on this channel used to be about film reviews and a lot of superheroes, I think, why not? Let's just jump right back into it with this. I don't have an intro because apparently the intro that I made when I was 15 has a copyrighted song that's owned by someone else, so I'm not supposed to use it. Fucking whatever that means. But I did get this comic that I clipped the microphone to specifically for this reason, and this is going to be the thumbnail for today, so enjoy that one. Captain America Brave New World is the first film in which Sam Wilson is the solo star, and he is his own Captain America on the big screen for the first time. It follows a story of a post-Eternals world, post-Incredible Hulk world also, where Thaddeus Ross, played by Harrison Ford, is the new president of the United States, and he has kept the leader, who they don't call him the leader in the movie, but he is the leader. He keeps the leader in a secret base because the leader was helping him live and also giving him the statistical best chances to become president. So, to repay him, he didn't send him to the worst possible prison for him, but now he's keeping him in prison instead of freeing him like he said he would. And all the while, Sam Wilson is becoming Captain America and accepting that he is Captain America and trying to stop the leader from causing World War III, or I guess maybe World War IV. I don't know if MCU has had a World War III yet. I might have to look back on that one. Anyway, I'm not going to hate on this movie as much as a lot of people are. I think the hate that it's getting is really undeserved. I think it's from a lot of people who are just tired of the MCU or don't want to watch superhero movies or at least MCU movies anymore. And that's a totally fine sentiment to have, in my opinion. You're allowed to not want MCU movies all the time. But to just go out and say that this movie is bad because you don't want to see a superhero movie, it's not bad. It's just not for you. Is it kind of the same tired MCU formula that we've seen? A little bit, I guess. I don't think it's really that much of a formulaic MCU movie, if there really even is one. Maybe there are elements of that in here, but I certainly don't think it is bar for bar, word for word, a too classic MCU, just stupid little beat 'em up that doesn't make any sense. But let's start with the negatives, because I think there are more positives than negatives in this movie, so let's get the negatives out of the way quick. I don't love the way this movie looks. I don't. Sorry if there's glare in my glasses, by the way. Hopefully I'll try to stay like this so you don't see it that much. But yeah, I don't love the way this movie looks. The effects aren't always the cleanest. There are some times where it's very obvious that someone is standing directly in front of a green screen and nothing else. And honestly, above even just the effects, the lighting is not very good. And some of the shot selection isn't the best either. I remember most of these are more so problems in the first 20 minutes or so of the movie than the movie as a whole. But in the first 20 minutes especially, some of the shots that they were using, I just feel like it just didn't work. I didn't fuck with it, I guess. I don't know, it just kind of bugged me. A particular example of this is in the first 15-ish minutes, there's a scene where Sam Wilson and Isaiah Bradley are having a conversation by a pool table. And they constantly use back-to-back-to-back over-the-shoulder shots of each character while they're having a conversation, to the point where it's probably like a 3 to 5 minute conversation they have, and you only see both of their faces on screen at the same time once, maybe twice. And I don't know why that bugged me. I just feel like it makes it a little bit better when you can see all of the characters that are on screen at the same time, not the back of their head and the other guy's face. I think they just use the same shot over and over and over again for a couple scenes, and just... I know this is a little bit of an MCU reputation thing, but they do have a reputation of not having all the actors in the same room at the same time. Remember when Elizabeth Olsen was talking about she's never met John Krasinski in her life despite being in a full 5-10 minute fight scene with him. Granted, she might have been lying, but still, it came out a little bit later that for Multiverse of Madness especially, not all of those people were actually in the same room. It was a lot of reshoots, a lot of edits to get them on the same cut together, and because the MCU has that reputation, when you're seeing the back of someone's head and they're talking, that's a reality TV trick to make them say things that they didn't actually say in that moment, right? So it just kind of gives off that vibe of like, are both of these guys actually here right now? I'm going on a little bit too long about this. It was a relatively minor thing. This was really the only instance where this bothered me. But yeah, a lot of the shot selection, the lighting just doesn't look good. When they're outside, it's like way too bright to actually be outside. You know what I'm talking about? It's very obviously like studio lighting bright instead of like the sun bright, which gets distracting in the non-fight scenes. But other than that, there's not too many gripes. That is the biggest problem for me of the movie, I think. That's the biggest issue I had with it. I've heard people say it's boring. I don't necessarily agree with that. It's not the most high stakes, high intensity thing. It's definitely not the 70s style political thriller, political drama that they were marketing it to be. But I don't think it's boring. Another negative, the reshoots. This movie was in production hell by every account. Every report that had any kind of information on this movie was saying that it was reshot 50 times, edited together another 50. Seth Rollins, the wrestler, was apparently in this movie for a lot of the time, and his role just got cut out entirely somewhere in the middle. Allegedly, the character Ruth, the Israeli government operative who works for the president, was allegedly edited in later, but the studio says she was in it from the beginning, and it shows a little bit. You can tell that there are like some things that were meant to be carried on further, or some things that weren't really meant to be in here at all. Like apparently Demolition Man is, spoiler alert by the way, for this part, Demolition Man is in this movie. They don't reference him as such at all. He's literally just like a soldier who appears for 2 scenes. It's very clear they tried a lot of different versions of this movie, and what came out is a little bit of an amalgamation of all of them. Was Red Hulk supposed to be in here the whole time? Honestly, probably not. Was Serpent Society supposed to be the main villain at some point? Maybe. Was Sidewinder supposed to be in it at all? That wasn't Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was supposed to be King Cobra, I think his name is. Either way, it was not the same movie that was written 3 years ago, or whenever this movie started production. It does come off as a little bit messy because of that. There are a lot of weird plots that get dropped halfway through, a lot of weird stuff that gets picked up. But honestly, it's not too bad to the point that it makes it unwatchable, which was a risk. That was a real risk going into this thing, that all of these cuts and all of these reshoots are going to be so noticeable that it's going to feel like I'm watching 3 different movies stitched together like Frankenstein. And it doesn't feel like that, surprisingly, and I'm happy about that. That's really all of the negatives. Going into the positives, the acting. I think the acting was great. Obviously, Harrison Ford is always going to be amazing. Let's see, I always forget the names. Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley, honestly, was a massive standout. It was my favorite part, his acting, of the first half of the movie or so. Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley was amazing. Anthony Mackie. Let's talk about Anthony Mackie. There were questions whether Anthony Mackie could be a leading man or not, and I've still seen some people say that he can't be because of this movie. And I won't lie. In the first 20 minutes or so, I had the same questions of like, oh, is he going to be able to like put this thing on his back when Harrison Ford isn't in a scene? Or when Carl Lumbly, Isaiah Bradley isn't in a scene? Is he going to be able to carry like the emotional themes, the emotional parts of this movie by himself? And I think he was. Is he fucking Leonardo DiCaprio? No. Is he prime Brad Pitt or prime RDJ? No. Is he fucking Chadwick Boseman? No. But he's a really good actor, I think. I think he had a really good performance in this movie. He's really funny. He's really charming. I think he brings out the best parts of Sam that we had seen previously, and a little bit of the new stuff that was revealed in Falcon and the Winter Soldier that I liked seeing a lot. Speaking of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you can count this as a pro or a con. I'm putting it as a pro because I like unification. I like callbacks. I like bringing stuff back from other things. It's totally fair to say that this is a con because you like cemented and full circle stories in one piece of media. You don't like having to do homework, as some people say it. But this brings in a lot from the other parts of the MCU. It has a lot of stuff from The Incredible Hulk. It has a lot of stuff from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is a show I liked more than most people. It has one core element from the Eternals being a set piece, basically the Celestial that came out of the Earth and is now made out of adamantium. Spoiler alert, adamantium exists now, and it's what the Celestial is made out of. It brings in that. It obviously touches on the other Captain America movies. Bucky's in this movie. Spoiler alert. And yeah, I think that's a big pro for me. Just brought in so many different things. The action was another pro for me, big time. I loved the dogfight. The dogfight over the battleships in the Indian Sea with the stone celestial in the background, that was fucking awesome. That was so sick. I loved that. And I did also love the Red Hulk fight. The Red Hulk fight was amazing. It's maybe the best Hulk scene, best Hulk fight of any kind we've gotten in the MCU. Possibly. I'd be willing to say so. I think the thunderclap that knocks down the fucking building and then he does the incredible leap into the Washington Monument, that was pretty fucking awesome. I love that. Was how he won the fight a little stupid, that being Captain America? Sure, he just said, think about your daughter. And then he stopped being the Hulk. That's a little stupid, but how is that guy going to beat Red Hulk anyway? He's not. No one should be able to, let alone a guy in a suit. Let's touch on that also. That's a big theme of this movie, is Sam Wilson becoming Captain America. Yeah, we saw him wear the suit and use the shield in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but this is his first movie where he is Captain America from start to finish. He's Captain America when this movie starts, he's Captain America when this movie ends. And some people, like the stupid fucking film critics on YouTube especially, love to throw a critique of this movie that's like, they're shoving Sam Wilson as Captain America down our throats. He's not Captain America, he's the Falcon. It doesn't count as shoving it down your throat if the theme of the movie is him coming into the Captain America role. That's the stupidest fucking critique I've ever heard in my life. Did you watch Finding Nemo and think, they're shoving the idea of this guy finding his son down my throat? No, that's just what the movie's about, dumbass. Obviously, they're going to be talking about Sam Wilson becoming Captain America in this movie. That's what it's about. This movie is about Sam Wilson becoming his own Captain America, so that's going to be most of the fucking runtime, obviously. And I like that part. I did like that part quite a bit, actually. I think they did a good job of establishing the fact that he is a different kind of Captain America than Steve Rogers. The scene with Bucky was a little weird, where Bucky's like, you give them something to aspire to, while Captain America is something that they can never be, or whatever he says. He definitely says the aspire to thing. And, like, I get why they wrote it that way, you know? Sam Wilson is a guy, an ex-military pilot in a super high-tech suit with a invincible shield, yeah, but he is just a dude in there. He didn't take the super soldier serum. He's not a god, right? So I get that line in the sense of, like, you give them something to aspire to because if they work as hard as you did, they could be as good as you are. And I do think that's a cool symbol in a superhero movie, especially of, in these worlds of these, like, gods, demigods, godlike figures, or insane geniuses like the leaders in this movie, or literal Hulks, that there could just be, like, a guy who's really good at something. And that's, like, something to aspire to. And him being the leader of the new Avengers, which is also a running thing in this movie. I say running thing, they bring it up like 2 or 3 times, where Harrison Ford, Thaddeus Ross asks Sam Wilson in the beginning of the movie for Sam to start the new Avengers, or restart the Avengers. Initially, he's questionable, and then Ross becomes the Red Hulk and then gets put on the raft. But then at the end, he asks Joaquin, who is the new Falcon, to be in the new Avengers. So you get the first 2 members of the new Avengers in this movie, which is also pretty cool, I think. What else? Let's see. I've seen a lot of people say that they don't like the leader's plan very much. They think the plan is stupid. So the leader's plan is that he hacks into people's phones and he sends out signals that makes their screens flash in a particular way, or makes lights around them flash in a particular way, that gives them like a mind control command. And when they hear this song called Mr. Blue, that's their trigger. And they snap and they do whatever their mind control told them to do. A lot of people are saying they're stealing that from the Winter Soldier. I don't think they're stealing that from the Winter Soldier. They're just doing something that happened in the Winter Soldier. And when these movies are connected, that's called using the rules of the universe as previously established. That's not stealing from another movie. They don't do the exact same thing, right? Isaiah Bradley tries to kill the president because he got mind controlled in the first 15 minutes of this movie. They didn't run a plot point saying how Isaiah Bradley is a secret Winter Soldier that never got his trigger before now. No, it's a different kind of mind control. They're just using the rule that mind control with a verbal trigger exists in this universe. And they're using that as a plot point in this movie. They're not just saying, oh, let's make this like Winter Soldier while also making it a sequel to The Incredible Hulk. And also the Eternals thing is here too. No, they're just using stuff from a previously established universe. That's what the MCU should be, in my opinion. Use the shit that other movies give you. Use the shit that shows give you. You know, people's big problem with Multiverse of Madness, aside from their insanely high expectations and the stupid-ass ice cream song, was that they got Wanda's shift all wrong. Well, yeah, they didn't, or I don't know if they didn't read WandaVision, the directors and writers of Multiverse of Madness, or they weren't allowed to. Either way, that movie suffered because of it. They had to explain away what happened in WandaVision as like a throwaway line and weren't able to connect it to that. And I think that movie suffered because of it. You can't then turn around and blame this new movie, Brave New World, for doing the exact opposite and tying in as many things as they can from as many movies as they can. The Incredible Hulk came out in 2008. That's 17 years ago. You don't even have to see it. I've heard some people say that you need to have seen Incredible Hulk to understand this movie. No, you don't. I haven't seen that fucking movie, and I understood this one perfectly fine. You just have to listen to the stuff that the leader is saying, that Thunderbolt Ross is saying. They explain this shit to you. You just have to listen. Is there maybe a little bit too much exposition in this movie because of that? Yeah, because while you can expect some people to have seen all of that stuff, you can't expect everybody to have seen all of that stuff. So they did have to do a little bit of exposition on the leader, a little bit of exposition on Thunderbolt Ross, a little bit of exposition on Isaiah Bradley. And yeah, the scene with Sam Wilson and Bucky was a little bit of exposition there for people who hadn't even seen Infinity War. Seen the end of Endgame, where Steve Rogers gives the shield to Sam Wilson instead of Bucky. Yeah, that's my main takeaway. I heard all of the insanely negative things about this movie going into it, and honestly, yeah, it got my hopes down, because the MCU has not been on the greatest run recently, but I will say the run it's on has been incredibly overhated. People like Deadpool, and that's fair. I like Deadpool and Wolverine, that is. Nobody watched The Marvels. I did, and I thought it was cool. It wasn't awesome. It was cool, though. And what was before that? Was it Quantumania? No, it was Guardians. Everyone loved Guardians 3, obviously. But before that, it was Quantumania. I didn't love Quantumania. That might be my least favorite MCU movie. And most people agree. But this is nowhere near that. This is nowhere near Ant-Man 3. I think this is notably better than Ant-Man 2. I think this is notably better than Dark World. I think this is notably better than at least one of the Iron Man movies. I think you can make an argument that this is better than Guardians 2. Some people don't love that movie. I like it. I don't love it. You could make the argument that this movie's better than The Eternals. I think it's more fun than The Eternals. I think Harrison Ford's acting, I think the dynamic, or the storyline that they do Isaiah Bradley, which isn't much, but the 20-ish minutes that he gets are really fucking good, in my opinion. I think Sam Wilson's dynamic with Joaquin is good. It was a little shaky in the first bit. Oh, Giancarlo Esposito's in this movie. I forgot about that. Giancarlo Esposito has 3 scenes in this movie, and they're pretty good. Giancarlo's an amazing actor, and he always has been. The fight scene with him is pretty good. It's choppy, yeah, and the opening fight scene isn't bad either. But it's not as good as that dogfight with the Japanese Air Force, and the 2 U.S. rogue pilots, and it's over the ocean, and Sam does that cool thing where he has Redbird hold one of the shields behind him to block fucking airplane shots. That's so sick. And then he slices a wing off with his wing. Dude, at a certain point, you just gotta sit back and accept this shit's cool as hell. Like, people have that thing called the rule of cool for a reason. And people use it for superheroes for a reason. This shit doesn't have to make that much sense. If you just have that much fun consuming it, who gives a shit, man? Obviously, you can't abandon all logic for just the coolest shit in the world to happen all the time. But if it's cool enough, sure, I can forgive a lighting mistake or a bad cut here and there if the end result is Captain America flying over the Indian Ocean, slicing up rogue fighter jets, and then making sure that the debris doesn't hit a Japanese aircraft carrier, all while an adamantium celestial sits in the background. Only for 15 minutes later for him to fight the Red Hulk at the White House. That's fucking cool, dude. I'm sorry. It felt like a superhero movie. That's my favorite part about it, is that it gave me that same kind of feeling almost of when I was like 12 walking into a theater, not for the Avengers movies, obviously. That's a special feeling that's hard to recover. But yeah, dude, it's that same feeling of when I was walking in to see Iron Man 3. I don't really give a shit what happens. I just want to see something cool. And maybe that's like a bad film etiquette or bad film consumption rule. Sometimes you just got to accept the cool shit when it's there, because you don't get a lot of it all the time. It has its problems. The lighting isn't great. I do like the plot. If you're talking about the core elements of a movie, plot, acting, visual elements, I think it hits on 2 out of the 3. I think the acting is great. Writing is the 4th one, sorry. I think the writing is solid. It's nothing special, but it's not abhorrent either. I don't think the lighting or the visuals are good, and I am a very visually based guy. You know, I'm sure I'll make a video soon about ranking animated shows or animated movies, and I'll say it much more even then. Like, visual quality matters a lot to me, and I still don't knock this movie that much for it, you know? It's a great time. I had a great time watching it. I watched it with 5 of my friends. We didn't all agree on it. 4 of the 6 of us total had it roughly at a 7+, and the other 2 had it roughly at a 5 to 6 around, I think. So we didn't all agree on it. Some of us agreed on the problems, some of us disagreed on the problems, but it was fun. I got to go see a superhero movie with 5 of my friends and then talk about superheroes for like 2 hours afterwards. That's really fun. And that's my favorite part about it. I just had a great time watching it. It was a cool superhero movie to watch. Got some sick action. Got cool development in the MCU. The new Avengers are coming up. Got to see a Red Hulk fight. Red Hulk's character I've been liking since I got into comics. Now I've seen him on a movie screen destroy Washington, D.C. That's fucking cool, dude. I'm sorry. This is just shit that, like, you didn't think you would see. And now that I have, I'm happy that I did. Is it the best thing in the world? No. Is it the best Marvel movie of the last 2 years? No. Guardians 3 is a borderline masterpiece, in my opinion. Is it better than Deadpool? Maybe. I think it's roughly in the same tier. I think I'd probably take Deadpool and Wolverine over it. Probably comfortably, actually. Either way, I think this is a really good movie. It's doing well in the box office, if you care about that. I think it hit like 190 million globally opening weekend, so it's going to push $1 billion. It could easily push $1 billion if it's any kind of rewatchable, which I think it is. I'll probably end up seeing it again. I love rewatching movies, though, so that's just me. End of the day, Captain America Brave New World, I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10. Not a super unique scale, but I liked it a lot. The acting was a big plus for me. The action was a big plus for me. The tiebacks and the story cohesion of other projects coming in was a big plus for me. And biggest negative was the visuals. And I think that's about it. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and let me know if you want me to talk about any other movie coming up soon or anything else. The next MCU movie is The Thunderbolts, coming out in May, which this movie does set up, kind of. I mean, Thunderbolt Ross is in jail after talking about needing to make a team. And then there's that plot point of Bucky being a congressman in Thunderbolts. He's running for Congress in this movie, which that's a little crazy, right? He killed JFK. Like, canonically in this universe, he killed John F. Kennedy. I get he's also an Avenger, but like... And politics is crazy, I suppose. So, anyway, this movie does set that up. I'm excited for the MCU this year. I'm excited for superhero movies in general this year. Fantastic Four and Superman are both in July. That's going to be fucking amazing. This is a really good, exciting year for movies, and it's off to a solid start, I think. Yeah, so I'll see you guys later.